bonfire is blazing so bright, calling the fight from vigilance. We stand from dawn to twilight. The empire's rise and conquer. In the wild face of danger, carry on to the victory. You better take a deep breath. Each dawn it brings a bitter fight. Another chill may run down your spine. Fear looks beyond the edge of sight. Carry on to the glory, to the great victory. Never give up till you die. Never give up in this life. For every word that you win bright, it's time to become. Never give up on your mind. Hold your weapons, try to fight. For every kingdom that falls and rise, it's time to become legendary. Chaos for sharpening your knife. Make way to find your destiny. Worship a man or a shrine. Can both recall the scattered. In the wild town of wardrobes, tearing down all the enemies. You better capture the arcs. The carriers may bug you down. Set up for the swiftest ride. Sneaky Texas work as a best alive. Carry on to the glory, to the great victory. Never give up till you die. Never give up in this life. For every word that you win bright, it's time to become. Never give up on your mind. Hold your weapons, try to fight. For every kingdom that falls and rise, it's time to become legendary. Across the oceans, stories will be told. How you struggle, how you try to define the world. With a sacred name, you are the one chosen to start up the storm. Never give up till you die. Never give up in this life. For every word that you win bright, it's time to become. Never give up on your mind. Hold your weapons, try to fight. For every kingdom that falls and rise, it's time to become legendary.
What is going on, Governors? Chiscool here, and today I'm joined by Plato Gaming to cast the finals of the Grand Prix. I actually can't believe this is where we are. Plato, how you doing?
Hey, Chisel, glad to be back here with you, man, and glad to hear everything is good with you, and it should be a great rematch. GY16 732A, a rematch of the semifinals, running it back again for another best of 3.
You know, it's an unusual situation. To your point, I suddenly vanished in the middle of all the casting. I had a baby. It was really exciting. And glad the other casters were able to fill in the gaps of my sudden disappearance the day of the casting. And I missed a lot of really exciting stuff, Plato, that you're going to have to fill us in on how we got here. Because not only is this a rematch of 732A and GY16 for the finals, but if for some reason GY16 loses to the underdog 732A this time around, then we'll be watching them play again next week in a best 2 out of 3. So bring us to speed. In case you didn't tune in to some of the other earlier matches for the season here, or like me, you suddenly disappeared and had a baby. What did we miss over the last couple weeks?
Yeah, it has been a crazy couple of weeks. Of course, you were there during the provisioner meta that's been this Grand Prix, and that's continued to be a thing. You would average around 6 to 7K per team in provisioning for those that were successful.
Whew.
I think that will continue to be the trend. In terms of the semifinals, 732A versus GY16. 732A, you know, both these teams were the best teams in the Grand Prix thus far. They were both undefeated going into last week, but GY16 brought out an interesting strategy, which we haven't seen before, where they went for the obelisk during the first arc. They sacked the first arc, got 732A's obelisk in game one, and that essentially sealed the game, especially with how important provisioning is. If you take that obelisk, that's essentially half of the provision is gone because you have enemy cities in the backside just consistently pestering your obelisk, your gatherers, your desert altar. And that is how GY16 got control of that game and eventually got control of the series, beating 732A 2-0. That made 732A go to the lower bracket finals where they versed 466W, who is fresh off their win against 93T, the last international server hope in the Grand Prix. 732A, after going undefeated in the Grand Prix, lost two games straight against GY16. And they were on the precipice, on the verge of losing 2 games straight yet again for a total of 4 games on the weekend against 466W. But in game 2, they stole the game from under 466W by using sneaky tactics and master strategies to steal the last and final arc. And they also won via provisions, making them, I think they're down by about 5K, 4K points. They're all of a sudden up by 2K by the end of the match because of their tactics there. And they led that momentum, and kind of the lessons that they learned from GY16, they did the exact same thing to 466W, where in that first arc, they used sneaky tactics and went down to 466W's obelisk, stole the obelisk, and stole the series from 466W. So that is kind of the recap of how we got here. GY16, 732A. 732A have been seen as the underdogs this whole Grand Prix. Last week, they looked like the underdogs until all of a sudden they turn on the skill switch and were able to make it back here.
So let me get this straight. If I understand correctly, in like the 2 weeks that I was gone, not only did the meta potentially shift to putting more emphasis on obelisk captures, but amazingly, this team is on now a little bit of a spree, a hot spree, going into this final match. So they battled in the upper bracket, 732A and GY16, because they both were undefeated, and this is double elimination. But 732A got bumped into the lower bracket. They won the lower bracket, and now they're back in the upper bracket for the finals. What a situation.
Yeah.
Okay. And just to give a little bit of context into these teams, GY16 has a history. They're from Kingdom 16 in the Chinese servers. They're the Season 2 Horus Champion. Season 3 Horus Champion. Season 5 Horus Champion. Season 2, Grand Final Champion. Season 3, Grand Final Champion. Season 5, Grand Final Champion. And they are the 2022 Chinese Grand Prix Champion. Compared to the relatively young 732A. And they were invited by becoming a top 4 in the Sobek realm from the qualifiers. So they have come out of nowhere. And exciting news, this match is about to begin, which means we get to spectate to see if they can continue the sort of hot spree that they're now on in this rematch against GY16. What do you think is going to happen here, Plato?
Man, it's going to be so interesting because, you know, we'll have to see if GY16 will be able to keep their dominance here.
This is going to be an interesting one. I joined into the gameplay with about 2 minutes left on the clock before the game starts. Let me jump in now so we all can spectate together here.
Yeah, I mean, GY16 have been, as you said, the tournament favorites going in. They're the tournament favorites last season where, you know, winning the Grand Prix in 2022, when the Chinese server teams were going in with these international server teams, which was started in that 2023 Grand Prix, GY16 was seen as the favorites, but they were knocked out in the quarterfinals. This time, coming in with a bunch of practice, a bunch of poise, and as you said, their accolades speak for themselves, and that is the reason why they're here. That is the reason why they're favored, even in the international server, as betting favorites here. But hey, 732A throughout the whole tournament have been looked down upon, have been disregarded, have been kind of the afterthoughts. Chisco, the fact that they haven't even won, not only like a Grand Prix, but Osiris League. They haven't won an Osiris League title. And now they're in the Grand Prix finals against GY16, the best Chinese server team in terms of accolades that we have. It's going to be uphill battle, but I mean, it's been an uphill battle every single game for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think to that I would say that it proves that there's a lot of room for skillful players with a great plan of action to be able to do well. And if it feels at any time like the incumbent teams are unbeatable, unseatable, that's not necessarily true. And here we go. The first round of the finals begins now. Energetic activated by 732A. Not yet mirrored. There it is. So both teams have used Energetic off rip here. And if I zoom in, we can get a look at what's happening here. Although I'm going to want to be zoomed out to see the sort of trends, where people are going. In the time that I was gone, Plotto, has the trend sort of changed? Are we going to see an obelisk push here?
I mean, the only out of the gate obelisk push was 466W against 93T. And from that, we saw a very, very large amount of marches going to one side of the map. I don't think we're seeing that, although it does look like for 7328, there's quite a couple more marches going to that top side than the bottom side. We'll have to keep an eye on that, but I think it's just marches going through the middle. I think the most variance that we'll see will probably be what each team plans to do for that first arc. We've seen structure game, we've seen building game. Now we've seen another avenue, which is obelisk game and teleport game. So it'll be really interesting to see both these teams able to take opponents' obelisks during that first arc, what each team decides to do. And it would be super, super ironic and funny if both teams tries to steal each other's obelisk and they just end up trading and flipping sides of the map.
That is the kind of gameplay we want to see. Surprises, baby. Now, it does look like GY16 has a very large contingent possibly going through middle here. Although it's possible they just changed direction, swinging now to the right. I'm very curious where this very large cluster of marches, like 20-ish marches, are going to decide to go here, because that is not mirrored on the opposing side by 732A. What I see in 732A is a very standard push through the inner lanes to the opposing altar and Shrine of War, or perhaps they'll hold. We'll see here. I think they are going to push through past that Shrine of War and then hold on their own altar.
Yeah, I think this will be pretty standard Chinese server play, where it's going to be a lot of marches around these desert altar, a couple marches scattered around the outer lane sky altar and that Shrine of Life. But from what we've been seeing is that the Chinese server teams, they really, really love sending all of their marches in one lane, trying to dominate that lane and sad face all of the enemy marches while being relatively healthy because of their advantage in terms of numbers, and leveraging that advantage into another objective, such as, you know, defending your own desert altar and then swinging over with your healthy marches to the sky altar. And your opponents would be in the back foot because they're sad facing, walking back home. It looks to be, though, that both teams are answering each other with the right amount of pressure, where there is more marches in this inner lane, but it shouldn't be enough, rather, to dominate everything. But we'll have to see. I see a cavalry rally going towards an obelisk in this bottom side. I'm going to be curious as to what their plan is there.
Are they going to stick with it?
It's looking pretty standard.
I think with the Joan as the primary, that is not a rally that is going to stick. I suspect they'll cancel it, but hey, prove me wrong. I love surprises. I will say, on the topic of surprises, I did see an Ethel in this ball, Ethel Trajan, with the fresh new look on the Ethel. So I don't know if we're seeing at all, Plotto, over the last few weeks, a shift in the meta marches. Has that stayed about the same?
It's pretty much just all cavalry marches except for one infantry march. But yeah, like these initial marches are super cavalry based. You'll see like very fast infantry marches, perhaps like a Lucha Alex in there just for that super fast move speed, but a ton of archer focus. I would expect the Ethelfled honestly to be full cavalry, even though it does benefit with 3 troop types.
Yep.
Yeah, these initial murder balls looking very even right now.
Fights breaking out. We're watching now at the southern altar to see what happens. GY16 on offense. I'm seeing Chandra Gupta in this ball, which can't say I was expecting that.
I mean, if you have all cavalry marches, Chandra Gupta's debuff, extra value because it'll be for all of your marches there. But yeah, GY16 cleaning up this bottom side desert altar. It actually looks like 732A inversely cleaning up the top side desert altar. So kind of that flip of structures that we were talking about here. It'll be interesting to see which team decides to try to hold this desert altar for that first occupation or threaten the first occupation. It's a very mirrored map right now, Chisco.
It sure is. Personally, I think it's more fun to ask questions than to be the one sitting back with answers all the time. And this asks the question, can you take your altar back before the mid-fight? We got 6 minutes and 30 seconds until that mid-fight's going to go down. So I think that's ample time to go and recover some buildings. And both teams went that offensive route, putting less emphasis into the defense of their own structure and more emphasis into getting the enemy team's structure. And those initial capture points, if they can hold them, will be incredibly meaningful. Even the Shrine of War over here is flipped. So 732A is going to need an answer for this on top of getting back also their Shrine of Life.
Yeah, it's 2 altars to 2, but 4 shrines to 0. This is actually, I feel like, is a pretty big advantage to GY16. GY16, though, sad facing all of their marches, opting in for the tempo advantage for some form of mid shenanigans, some mid play, instead of trying to contest for this first occupation, specifically for the desert altar of 732A. In the meanwhile, they were also able to take back their own desert altar. So these desert altars should be going back and forth. The structures should stabilize here shortly. So no real advantage to either team, but both teams, I feel like, will try to do something mid, because I will say, Chisco, in this Grand Prix, there's been a lot less city swarming to sad face it and reset. It's been a lot of just keeping your marches out in the open field, pressuring as much as possible, trying to hold on to your opponent's structures for as long as possible, and that being the play. But sad facing on the enemy cities, the cities having a markswoman as that garrison so that they sad face as slow as possible, that indicates to me that there is going to be a play soon that really needs a lot of tempo, and 4.5 minutes before arc spawns, they need all of that time to get that play set up.
Watching this Shrine of War, which looks like it is going to flip back to 732A. And, oh, wait. They pulled the punch. There we go. Okay. they left it one tap and then walked away. But they got that thing back. So, looking now here, we do see the altars are favoring GY16 still. 732A is going to have to even this up before the mid-fight, but with only 4:10 left on that clock for the arc to spawn, it is going to be a little bit dicey. The structure flips. The map is now getting to even, and the scoreboard is almost exactly even. So this is very close. We see GY16 getting in position, and 732A delayed by, I would say, 30 seconds from GY16's advance. So we'll see here if they're able to even up. Plato, how do you feel about being aggressive on the temple at this stage?
It's so interesting, Chisel, because this is like international server 101. This is international server sad face of 5.5 minutes. walk mid and fight middle. Whoever wins the arc. It's super interesting to see all of the nuances that we've seen in the Grand Prix, all of the building game into master strategies, into sneaky tactics, just to have people stare at each other for another 3 minutes here in the first match of the Grand Prix. To me, this indicates that both teams are going back to basics. There's been a lot of different plays, and they're like, okay, we're just going to play the bog standard, try to win this temple, try to win this first arc, because whoever has first arc definitely has a lot of control of how the game is going to flow and go.
It makes sense. And, you know, we now see GY16 dropping the sentry and advancing to its position, perhaps, but they're staying back behind it. Yeah, so, sneaky tactics for 732A. All right, so they've cast that in the middle, and it's not like we see a separate archer ball where they're trying to conceal the archers. So we'll see kind of what they're up to, unless I missed the location of it.
It was actually in the bottom right corner. You could see a lot of these marches. Still walking.
There
those cavalry marches are walking through, and I will say, the sneaky tactics, it's actually a mind game. Like the power isn't in the actual buff of being it isn't in the actual buff of being of the movement speed, of the attack speed. It's just the information that your opponents could be anywhere. Your opponents could be walking towards your obelisk, which is what we've been seeing in these first arcs. 732A though, opting to bring those invisible marches into their murder ball. And trying to fake out, I think, GY16, and GY16 must be thinking to themselves, hey, do they have marches walking to our obelisks? This is something that we've seen them do against 466W. This is something that we've done to them last matchup against each other last week. But now we'll see GY16 also follow with his sneaky tactics, this time also in the middle murder ball.
Hilarious. So both teams opting to use this skill. GY16 backed up to the death. Wow. To the death for 732A, and then GY16 answers with a Heaven's Grace. They also had a dust up. This is a big moment.
Yeah. And all in from both these teams here. And I will say, Chiskel, in these bigger murder balls, I actually, like, when you go throw everything in the kitchen sink, I feel like the to the death skill has a lot less value. To the death only affecting 30 marches compared to Heaven's Grace, dust up that affects the whole murder ball here. But this murder ball is actually looking pretty even, with 732A having this positioning advantage, although it is looking quite blue now that I zoom out and look at the thick of it.
Well, if they just used to the death and they don't win this arc, that is going to be a really precarious position to play from. Because that means that GY16's got the options. The biggest bang is available to them still. And that option will have been spent. Once per match, you get to use that move. But it is still possible that they go for the arc on this backswing, right? Have we seen a lot of that recently, where you lose the mid fight but still manage to take down the carrier and score the arc?
It has been, you lose the mid fight but you get the first pull, and then you continue to get away with that pull. This looks to be very, very clean, and this should be GY16's arc to hold. We haven't really seen too many successful get wiped middle, lose the arc later. Although this arc looking very, very lonesome right now. But I think GY16, they should be under full control of this game. Of course, attacking the desert altar of their opponents, going into their own desert altar, predicting that 732A is going to be going a building game. And the thing about both teams going middle, Chiskel, is that whichever team wins that middle will be in full control of the match, because your opponents didn't trade anything. You traded all your pressure. Everything went to that middle play, and now you come up empty-handed. You're going to be down in pressure throughout the rest of this match here without really gaining anything of note.
Well, I like what GY16 has done here, although I am literally terrified of how lonesome this ARC carrier is. That is a PTSD-inducing moment for me. But besides that ARC carrier being completely unsupported, it looks like the majority of the leftovers from middle have pushed into the Desert Altar. And the advantage of that, even the refreshing troops pushing into the Desert Altar, is that if they are going to ambush the carrier, which we know has gone to this same side of the map, they're going to have to get through all these other marches. And they're not able to really do that here. It looks like they're, to use terminology that overlaps with some skill names, bogged down right around this Desert Altar and not able to pursue the carrier, even though literally no escort on this carrier right now.
This is pure confidence in GY16 and that ARC carrier.
True.
They have full control of this match, and they are min-maxing to the extreme.
Do they?
As we were talking about.
Wait. Do they have full control? Puddle, look at all these marches by the Sky Altar. Couldn't they just run up right up there?
Perhaps. But, they also have full vision because they have all of their outposts as well.
Yeah. I was messing with that earlier, just sort of playing with the visual range. And I was like, wait, they've got vision of this arc. They know where it is. I mean, they're not going for it.
It's so close. It is.
They're
so
not taking
close
the
to
bait.
obelisks.
Yeah, at this point, no shot.
I mean, if you look at the visual range, talk about the visual range. You were talking about how attacking the Desert Altar bogs down your opponents. It also gives you full vision of pretty much the whole lane.
Yeah.
You're essentially working as a human sentry, putting pressure in that area. Yes, making sure that your opponents are bogged down and they have to defend that structure. But also, they don't even have a straight pathway without vision from you. Because you have all of your marches there around the Desert Altar. The Desert Altar also giving a ton of vision for yourself when you capture it. GY16 currently in the driver's seat in this game one thus far.
To what would you attribute that? Do you think the skill use was just better for that mid fight?
Yeah, I do, Jiskel. It's 6 points to 6 points to the death. Doesn't instantly mean you're going to win a mid fight, especially with the Heaven's Grace Dust Up combo. And when all your when all of your everything's going middle, you can't only afford to buff up those 30 marches. They use two skills, Sneaky Tactics, to the death, that only buff the 30 marches, but there's going to be more than 30 marches in that middle fight. The buff of Heaven's Grace plus Dust Up, or the debuff of Dust Up, just affecting everything, I feel like really, really affected that Murder Ball and kind of that first initial arc fight.
So essentially you're saying to me, it's elementary, my dear Chiscool. It's simply mathematics. More marches buffed equals get win.
Yeah, I mean, we will have to see, because this is not the first time 732A have lost an arc fight with to the death used. And 732A, as I was alluding to, they are used to playing from behind in these games. They have been behind in majority of the games last week, but they have been really, really persistent in provisioning. You already see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 provisioners, almost 10 provisioners coming out from them. It is mirrored by GY16, so they both know what they're trying to do. But this game is not over as of yet, but they are definitely in a pressure disadvantage with everything being even in terms of structures, while the arc is in GY16's control.
Big fight going on, by the way, in the field. You don't normally see this. Like, just purely in the middle of the land between these two enemies. They're just taking a fight here. And I think what's going on is that 732A is sort of pushed up, preventing this team from assaulting their altar, which I think is kind of a cool idea. Even if they sad face, they can refresh back to their own altar faster than it can be attacked.
Yeah, it's giving a buffer. So when you sad face, your opponents still have to walk all that extra distance. It's also, I feel like 732A we're attempting to attack the Sky Altar, and GY16 met them on their way there. So this little area is actually where a lot of the fights happen in these arc fights from these arc matches, from what I've been seeing, because it's an intersection of the two main altars where that bottom side wants to go to the Sky Altar, that top side wants to go to the Desert Altar. So there does tend to be a couple bouts, not really a full murder ball like we just saw, but we'll have to see if that'll pay off for 732A, because they were able to get a lot of these marches pretty low here.
Well, they are doing exactly what I proposed. They got sad-faced and now they're walking back. So we'll see if that works out. Skippy A rally is in. We've got the mixed garrison here, which, can you believe those YSS boats are still at play? Mystical's interesting, huh?
Mystical formation and a hard push. Is this the old Grand Prix? Is this the old Osiris League? We have not seen these skills in quite some time. Hard push, giving that extra rally attack. Mystical formation, I believe, gives damage. I have to look back at that skill because I believe this is
defense. A large amount of defense.
Yeah, defense. A large amount of defense. Wow, both teams here. That indicates to me, Chisco, that this arc will be held.
Oh yeah, and it's not a coincidence. Both teams used a 3-point skill. I think they understand the meta. They know that someone's holding this first arc. And when that happens, they wanted a way to do something more productive. And so I think it makes a lot of sense that GY16, with the defensive skill, sort of postures to say, we're going to have a defensive option here because we're probably holding this arc. And the attacking option, right, with the hard push coming from 732A, makes sense. It's a skill you'd want to have if you're behind on structures or need structure dominance, and that's exactly the thing they need right now.
So mystical formation increases the defense of up to 30 allied troops within a certain area by 50% for 180 seconds. They use that mystical formation to take control of 732A's Desert Altar. Hard push, when the rally is initiated, increases the march speed of friendly rallied armies by 50% and its damage by 30% for 600 seconds. So the initial play here, the initial skill usage, you could see it pan out because that Desert Altar was taken. But we'll have to see if they're going to be able to flip some of these structures with the rallies that they're setting, because this hard push will last a longer time, lasting that 600 seconds compared to the 180.
Rally's on its way in. Skippy A about to connect with this Desert Altar. Although the low health marches from 732A trying to perhaps swarm that down. Here it is, mixed garrison. Is the YSS garrison just more popular in the last few weeks? I feel like there used to be more Eleanor in the garrison. Am I wrong?
I think it really depends on the team. I guess 732A using a lot more of this YSS, Heraclius YSS. But there have been a lot of Eleanors as well. It's pretty interesting though, because I know these teams practice a ton. These teams have been practicing a lot, so they probably have testing, seeing that, hey, this Heraclius YSS full mixed garrison probably impacts it and helps us more because we could just fill with anything. Although in an offensive situation, you're going to be filling with anything regardless. But perhaps just seeing that extra AoE, the extra filling potential pan out more than the Eleanor skills here.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to think that it's, in its versatility, very strong. Also, several Ethels on the field here. The Ethel Trajan for 732A. Kind of neat to see that. I also saw a little bit of William Wallace, which I wasn't expecting. Conventionally, I feel like you see the Skippy Prime and Liu Che as the sole infantry march on the field.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised to see William Wallace as well. I don't think I saw too many William Wallaces out in this Grand Prix. Again, the reason why the commander choices are so interesting is because all of these players have the exact same accounts. They have all the commanders unlocked. They have all the gear. They have all the armaments. So whatever marches they're using, Chisco, it means that they believe that that's the best of the best because they have access to the best of the best. So the William Wallace, Liu Che, being out there in the open field, perhaps that arch formation being really strong out on the open field, especially with that WW Liu Che. I mean, it does look like it's working for GY16 here. They have been using, I see a couple of those out for GY16. I see Liu Che primary for 732A on the other hand, where it's Liu Che with CPO as that pair. So it's pretty interesting to see infantry come out and these three infantry commanders being the staples. It's WW, it's CPO, but paired with that is always going to be a Liu Che.
I mean, I just saw an Ethel Alex from GY16 get sad-faced.
That is a pure buff and debuff march right there.
There's times where I'm like, I understand the meta, and then I see that, and I'm like, huh. And these teams don't do those sorts of combinations accidentally. They've got a, I think, formed opinion about why exactly you would use that sort of combo. And to your point, I think buffing and debuffing has got to be why you're using something like that. Here comes the Henry rally. A little bit early, though, way ahead of the marches. And, ooh, hey, Chisquel says, why are all the garrisons mixed? So they put a Cav garrison in there for us. That's kind of cool. Jan Zizka in the garrison. And I think that's yeah, that's a very interesting tech swap. I'm going to assume they've got multiple captain options in there, and they'll actually switch, potentially, to a different garrison captain here if it gets swarmed. Really cool to see that big anti-rally sort of skill damage garrison sit there for a moment, do its thing, and then we'll see what they do next.
That is so interesting, Jessica, that you point that out. Having a different garrison captain for different situations. 1v1 garrison, switch it to whatever garrison you think is best. Swarm, switch it to whatever garrison you think is best. And I think that is the skill level of the Grand Prix finalists. That's what you need to do to get here. The road to get here was very hard for both these teams, although both of them being in the upper bracket, they came from the upper bracket for a reason. The only team that 732A lost to in the upper bracket was GY16, losing one game against 466W in that lower bracket finals. But overall, 732A have been very strong in this Grand Prix, have been showing that, hey, a qualifier team making it to the finals. There were 8 realm champions. Only one of them made it through, which is GY16, and 732A took all 7 of the other realm champion spots here. As the arc has been captured, there is that 1 minute left until arc spawns. Is my timer wrong?
Let's see. From what I see, that arc is on its final seconds before it resets, which presumably they will march to wait. The arc disappeared. Wait. Did they score the arc or no? Oh my god, they didn't score it.
The arc disappeared. What is
They didn't
going on?
score it.
There's gonna be the
timer ran down.
I've never seen this.
The timer ran down. They forgot to score the arc.
Oh my gosh. There is no way we just saw that in the grand finals of the Grand Prix.
The timer ran down. Chat is losing their mind. Oh my goodness.
It's because the arc wasn't captured. This is insane.
I don't think I've ever seen this In my 6 years of playing Rise of Kingdoms and casting, not once have I seen the arc reset, and that just happened on the grandest stage that possibly exists for this game format. Oh my goodness.
I think that was on purpose, Jiskel. They were so ready for that. They had like the T1 marches already there for the spawn.
I don't know.
Was this to delay? What is that?
Oh, are they making it a one arc game? Surprise!
Yeah, one arc game.
One arc game. Do you think that's what it is?
I don't know, but that is so risky if that's a play. But they were
Is
there
it?
right away.
Who expects this? Nobody expects this.
That has to be on purpose. There's no way you're an arc carrier and you forget to capture the arc in the Grand Prix, in the Grand Finals. This has to be on purpose.
I certainly think that's the most generous interpretation of what happened.
No, they had the T1 marches at the temple. The arc carrier was running away with the arc. What is? I mean, I'm just speechless. That's the only way I could fathom. That's the only way I could fathom this happening.
I just don't think there's enough support to this carrier to say like, yeah, this is the way they drew it up. I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, I didn't even know, Chisco. I didn't even know what happened when you didn't capture the arc. Like, I didn't know that the arc spawns in the minute after not capturing.
Yeah, I knew it would reset to the middle. I didn't.
But right away? I thought it'd be like an 8-minute. Like, okay, well, they forgot to capture the arc. We gotta wait another 8 minutes for.
I thought it was gonna be instant. I didn't realize it would be like a minute 15 of countdown. But it was weird. What I saw on my screen was the carrier walking the arc back to the middle.
Yeah, that's what I saw on my screen too.
So to your point, like maybe that was sort of planned, but I don't know. The arc is down. I mean, this is very dangerous.
What a way to gamble the game if that was on purpose. Let's just. There has to be some questions asked to this GY16 team after. I don't speak Mandarin, but hopefully the Chinese server casters could give us some answers, because that was the most insane play that I've seen, where that arc just doesn't get captured and it looks like it'll be fine for GY16.
It looks like it could be fine. And that is one heck of a way to reset the arc timer to make it actually a one arc game. It's so funny when you challenge your assumptions about the things that can be done to try to win. And I love when this sort of a thing surfaces. The thing that everyone assumed that no one would do, and they've done it. At least, maybe they've done this intentionally. I don't know. What do you think the odds are that this was unintentional?
I would have to look at the replay, man. I don't know what happened. I actually can look back. I'll take a look back while you cast the match, because there's no way that just happened
unintentionally. Yeah. So your hypothesis here is that was absolutely the way they drew that play up. They pretended like they were just sort of going for it. Battle, business as usual, nothing to see here. And then boom, right at the end, they rushed to the middle, grabbed the arc, which they did. I mean, did they even have vision of the middle at that time? It looks like they would have had vision potentially. So they could have known it was safe to do this play. I mean, even now the arc carrier is on quite a route. I am more than a little bit confused about the position of this arc.
Yeah, it's like dangling a carrot in front of your opponents right here.
Yeah, quite literally in front of their sentry. Hey guys, look what we did. We got the arc.
It's like
what? Where are you going?
It's like they're looking for caravans to gather while they're arc carrying. I don't know what's going on. I look back at the replay. It's either the arc carriers started walking early while they had the arc to the middle so that they could reset and reset the timer, or there's a visual bug and they forgot to capture the arc. But either way, this is
look at this.
Look at
this.
This is
They're
unprecedented
right next to the arc. Yeah, he's going to the arc. He's like, hey, wait, hold up. Why is he alone in this maneuver? XY. Target locked on the Joan here. What's happening?
This is the top of the top of Grand Prix of Osiris League play right here, and we have
the
no
carrier's
idea
getting ambushed. Here it is.
You know, Chiskel, I choose to believe that the players are so cerebral that we just have no idea what's going on, because this match just boggles my mind right now with the arc shenanigans here. The XY looks like it's actually the sad face on the arc carrier.
Carrier's like, I'm good. You guys can just chill. I got this. Which I'm not sure is true. It's pretty close. Wow. Okay. I mean, this is unusual. Carrier now going back toward the obelisk, which is not where I would put this thing, for the record. I mean, if you want it in the obelisk area, you still put it by the cities, not next to the obelisk, where theoretically someone can roll up, knock down your carrier, take the obelisk, score at your obelisk, right? Well,
yeah, I mean, yeah, just I look back at the replay. I believe that was not a visual bug. The arc carrier started walking middle with 20 seconds left to capture the arc. So it's either there was a visual bug or that was in their play. I believe that was in their plan, because they walked there like complete, like they had like a 20-second head start. So that means 732A probably didn't even see that the arc was uncaptured and that middle play would be happening. We're gonna just go ahead and assume that was planned by GY16. And
yeah,
now looking at the state of the map, GY16 have 20 gatherers saying, hey, we only need one arc. We'll just get these 20 gatherers out and play Rise of Farming here while trying to hold on to the structures.
Yeah, I would assume the only visual bugs are the ones between our eyes and our brains trying to process, like, wait, hold up. Are we really seeing this? How can this be? They're chilling. They are chilling at the obelisk. This arc has 7 minutes and 30 seconds. There will be another arc in this game, right?
Yeah, there most definitely will be.
So what was the point of that?
Delaying that arc capture for as long as possible so that they could out provision, I guess, 732A, because now like they could provision all they want. Although they did lose their Sky Altar, they did lose the Desert Altar that they took, so they are losing in terms of occupation. But I mean, we'll have to see it'll pay out, because that's 3k points guaranteed that you almost gave up if 732A were ready for that play. Luckily, GY16 were able to get back that arc, and now it's just going to be a very, very delayed second arc fight, where if you're able to contest it enough, perhaps you can actually delay it to the point where it won't be captured. We have, let's do the math here, Chiskel. It's 19 minutes in the game, 6 minutes before they have to capture this arc. That would be around 13 minutes, 8 minutes until the arc spawns. So 5 minutes of delay, perhaps not actually. It's just gonna be a very, very late arc fight here, and GY16 just get to have the tempo, I guess, in terms of what they want to do before that last arc fight.
This might sound like a silly question, but are you gonna send someone to the middle now if the enemy is holding the arc and running down the clock? Just one march, just in case. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, just have 1T1 March just in case they try to play that play back.
Even if it's a full
But-
combat march, like, do you just send one? Like, just, you know, like, just to see. Just to make sure they actually are going to score the arc. Unreal.
And this is what we're talking about. I mean, I don't, as you said, you've been casting forever, and we haven't seen that play before.
Yeah,
I haven't heard of that play before. I haven't even heard of the mechanic before.
I mean, I cast the very first arc match that I think ever happened, quite literally, in Kingdom 2. So I've been doing this a while. And, you know, chat says, oh, it's a known tactic. I mean, okay, but I've never seen it before. New to me, that's for sure.
Yeah, I believe that's Archie from 93T. So if it's a known tactic, then it is a known tactic, and it was on purpose. And we're gonna move on and see how this game goes, because we have 17 minutes left, 4 minutes until this arc is captured here. So, or presumably captured. And it'll look like, it looks like the buildings will continue to go even, and it'll just be who will out provision the other person here.
Yeah, I mean, the arc advantage is, that's a lot of points on the board in a low arc count game. And the provisioning will be huge.
Yeah, that's a good point, because very low arc count game, meaning that every single point that you get from provisioning is worth even more, because that means there's less points out in the board. There's going to be less points on the board. This is such a low scoring game right now.
It sure is.
16.4 to 17.3. 1/4 left in this game.
It's unusual.
They are pretty much like they haven't submitted any of the provisioners. They've just been going buildings pretty much. So this score difference is the difference in building game. And you know, there is a very big importance in tempo and kind of knowing what you're gonna do. The plans of like, hey, how many times are we going to be attacking this structure? Perhaps this, you know, it brought us casters off kilter. I would not be surprised if it brought 732A off kilter as well, and that being the main strategy from GY16, and GY16 being the bringer of madness, trying to get an advantage off of that. But losing the Sky Altar repeatedly is not the best look when you're doing this strat, when you're, you know, trying to have as little points in the game as possible. You definitely want to hold on to your home structures, specifically your altars, and the Sky Altar has been painted red for pretty much half of the game.
Yeah, it is really costly to be losing your own structures. As someone who spent a lot of time garrisoning and captaining a altar, let me tell you, it is not where you want to be losing that thing repeatedly. It is pretty rough. At the same time, teams of this caliber, they just know how to take and flip these buildings. It is not easy to hold.
I mean, there's a reason why these two teams are the ones in the Grand Prix. These two teams are the ones that beat the best of the best from both the Chinese server, international server. And for those that were not in the beginning of the stream, this is a best of 3 game number 1 GY16 732A. If GY16, because they're coming from the upper bracket, if GY16 wins this best of 3, they are the Grand Prix champion. If 732A win this best of 3, next week will be the finals, where there will be another run back, another best of 3 next week against these two teams to finally determine who is the champion of the Grand Prix.
Ooh, I mean, I like to spectate exciting arc matches, so I'm not opposed to another week of arc. Although, let me tell ya, if they're gonna do moves like the one we just saw, I'm all here for it, man. Surprise me. Hit me with something unusual. I mean, can you imagine holding on to that play until this match? Like this entire time you've been like, hey, we got this play and we've never used it. I bet that's what they're going to say in the interview. It's like, yeah, we've been holding that all season long, waiting for this moment.
Yeah, I mean, if they're able to win this game 1 off that is going to be absolutely huge. By the way, they did capture the arc, so there will be that last arc fight that we were talking about, and you know what that indicates to me? That they probably did it on purpose. They captured the arc this time, so they know how to capture the arc. They had captured the arc throughout the whole Grand Prix.
I mean, we know they know how to capture the arc.
If they could enter their building and then capture it confirmed.
Oh my gosh.
It's not an arc bug here in Rise of Kingdoms with the new patch. So this was...
I mean, it is conceivable that you accidentally click and your march moved away from the cities, right? And then it's too late to go back to a city, so everybody's got to go to the middle to cover the mistake, right? Like, that is conceivable. It's just so unlikely with teams at this skill level.
I'd be curious if these players are playing with the new movement commands, where I don't know if you were playing with it, Chisco. I'm currently in KVK, and you could kind of simplify your movements where every single click on the PC version, every single click, I haven't played on the phone version, but every single click moves your march, and I have moved my marches by accident. So I mean, we'll never know until after the series, I guess, but we have quite the interesting match in our hands, and one last arc to boot.
That is true that, like, the new controls are very powerful, and if you weren't accustomed to them, which, like, nobody really is accustomed to them yet, right? Like, you've been playing one way for like 5 or 6 years. Like, yeah, it is conceivable that if they were using those new controls, they might have whoopsie daisied, right? Like, made a little mistake there when then you're in the middle of nowhere and then it's too late. Because these teams cut it pretty close when they cap the arc. Like, they don't give themselves 30 seconds of buffer. They run that clock down.
I will say, I think they gave themselves 30 seconds of buffer this time.
Yeah, I mean, could be.
I feel like we theory crafted every single possible way that, or reasoning behind. It's just because this Grand Prix has been so entertaining, and the best part about the Grand Prix is you could kind of understand the thought process behind every single move. That was the first time where I scratched my head. I'm like, what just happened? But I mean, let bygones be bygones. Everyone is now going to, start I think there's going to be an early rotation actually from 7328 compared to GY16
energetic.
GY16.
Yeah, both teams popping energetic here, so probably bumping up against an energy limit. So they say, hey, you know what? Let's recover some of the energy here so we can do some exciting stuff for the middle fight. I mean, 5 minutes, I think that's enough time to have energy at. Dust Up looks like a really good skill in that context of bumping up against energy limits because it lasts a long time, right?
Yeah, usually you do see a Dust Up, but man,
what are we gonna see?
Fight,
what's the skill combo here?
This middle fight will mean a ton. I will say, in terms of skills, I feel like 732A are pretty behind because they already used to the death, as we said. We see 5 skills on the skill bar already. They have energetic, to the death, sneaky tactics, hard push, and dust up. I don't think they could use a full 10 points, right? Like, what would that last skill have to be for 5 points of middle? I don't think there's a 5-point middle skill that they can use. So, in all honesty, Chisco, I feel like this GY16 team should be advantaged in this middle fight if we look at this purely at the skills.
It's funny, didn't you call it a bog down meta at the start of the match?
It is.
Weren't those words you used, bog down meta, at some point in this conversation?
I mean, bog down has been used, but
yeah, but where's the bog down, right?
Yeah.
It may not be on either of their bars this time.
Yeah, I mean,
there's Dust Up. See, they're doing what I suggested, right? Like they're gonna go for more than 10 points deployed to this arc, and the way you do that is with a skill that you can use early, and I think that's it. Although that's so early, they probably are trying to take this fight in the next minute or two, I would think, but they're not here yet. So I don't know what's going on, Blotto. I don't know. 3 minute till arc spawn. Where is everybody?
I'm looking at all the skills that 732 have used in the past. Energetic to the death, sneaky tactics, hard push, dust up, master strategies. So they're not really a bogged down team to begin with. They do use master strategies as that last skill most of the time. So I don't think that they would deviate in the I mean, perhaps they have a different skill, but they are very, very they don't have anyone in this middle area. And
732A has to have master strategist on the bar. That's got to be it. That's got to be it. So they're going to master strategist here for sure. Whether they do it to take the arc away from the middle, or they do it to port on top of the arc if they lose the mid fight, I don't know. But I feel like that's just got to be what's on the bar for them.
Yeah. I feel like they're going to try to heist the arc yet again. I mean, they have history of it. They've done it against they've done whoa, interesting. Yeah, but I mean, they've done it in previous matches, right? So the heist would be what I would assume.
GY16 moving in here. They drop that sentry very beautifully right on top of those marches, so they know what's there. And they're balled up on top of this arc spawning spot. There's the sneaky tactics for GY16. But what is going on here? That dust up may even expire. There's master strategy for 732A. Okay.
There you go. Wow. I'm 1 minute in the future, Chiskel, but yeah, they used master strategy in this bottom side sky altar. Perhaps just trying to get that last minute point advantage here, but I mean, they haven't been as provisioning as much as GY16, so I'm kind of surprised to the play.
Did they use it the wrong way? Couldn't be. Teams of this caliber don't make that mistake.
This is the most peculiar game of Osiris League that I've ever watched, I've ever casted.
Surprise, surprise. So, but what? Okay, so what are we being surprised with? I guess is the question I've got now.
I mean, they're down by 2K and they're giving a last arc here. Like, what else is there supposed to be surprised about? 5 minutes to go.
Chiskel, there's two options that could be what they're doing. There's only two. Then 732A. Yeah. Okay, here's the third option. What? All right, here we go.
It was on an altar that they already controlled as well. So they brought their middle marches to reinforce an altar that they already captured.
That's why I thought. I thought maybe they're going the other way, bro. Right?
Yeah.
Like, take the people that are here to the middle.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. I'm stumped.
It was definitely on purpose though, because there's no way you target marches that you're already on top of, perhaps. But I mean, man, this is gonna be such an interesting match to look back on and try to decipher the thought processes behind these two teams. And I think we're gonna be questioning the one that loses here. I mean, I could kind of understand not capturing that arc, but this being down by 1.7k in such a low scoring game, this is gonna be worth perhaps like 1/10 of the amount of points in the game. Like there's gonna be 3.5k, and these 3.5k points are gonna be quite the amount of points. Usually second arc, it's like, oh, that's okay, we could provision it back, which is still true. But GY16, their side of the map has been Swiss cheese with how many provisioners they've had out there. So yeah, I mean,
Chat says if you don't know what you're doing, your enemy can't know either. I mean,
fair. That's probably in Sensu's Art of War somewhere.
Quoting the Art of War, huh?
In a hidden
Somehow
page that,
I don't think
seen.
that was in the Art of War, although I'm quite confident there are some remarks about surprising your enemy in there. That is true. Well, the arc is moving, and it's not delayed because the master strategist took those marches that could have delayed it to the other side of the map. So, hard push being activated. All right, 3 minutes left. I think if you're GY16, you dunk that arc in the fanciest way you can think of.
Yeah, they're going to be up by 5k points, just go. Like, they're going to be up by 5k. So
you got to be feeling good if you're GY16.
With how much you've been provisioning, you're feeling fantastic. This is going to be game number 1 win from GY16 with how things are going. And the only standard thing about it was that first arc fight. Everything after that was just very, very interesting plays. And I'm going to be curious to see what happens in this series, because this is going to be a barn burner here.
Well, good news is that we're here for all of it, and at home you can spectate from the comfort of wherever you'd like to watch. For me personally, it's in the couch in the living room. So get your popcorn, because we'll see what the final score is here. But it's a best 2 out of 3 game series. So there's a lot of exciting Arc of Osiris coming up here. And exciting it is. The arc has been captured. All right. Well,
exciting, confusing, bamboozling. There's a lot of ways to bring up this series, but
a lot of feelings.
Definitely,
yeah,
one of the ways to bring it up. And I mean, I'm gonna be curious to see the provisioning. I mean, there's even a city teleported from GY16 just swarming cities in this bottom side obelisk. It's they're literally swarming down a 430 million power city here. So I mean, it's a very interesting game one that we've had thus far.
Yeah, I wouldn't put too much credence into the final moments per se here with some of these shenanigans. I mean, Centurion on the wall, if you ever were wondering. Turns out when you have 400 million power, the counterattack is still pretty strong.
No, with 400 million power, you could have nothing on the wall and you'll still be all right. And I actually don't think some of these provisioners will go home. Some of these provisioners didn't go home, perhaps because this game was just over. They don't want to give their opponents, how much exactly that they would have gotten in points in terms of provisions, because some of these provisioners just didn't end up going home with the game being decided essentially with that third arc. But yeah, I mean,
25 seconds left here. I mean, we'll see if there's a big jump in the score for the provisions. And we can briefly review the board before we go on a very short, probably like a 4-minute, realistically, intermission here between these games. It's going to be fast and furious, so don't go anywhere. We're going to check this board. We're going to have more gameplay because this is best 2 out of 3. And there have been a lot of surprises. So what do we got? Final score is 33,769 to 30,051. GG, well played. It's not over yet. It's best 2 out of 3. Stick around because we'll be back for yet another Ark of Osiris Grand Prix Finals matchup. Whew, I'm hyped. We'll see you in just a few minutes for the next match.
Stand up, don't draw in the dust. The land of the sun knows the answer in your head. Hold tight, it's worth the try. Chasing for the glory in the fight. Don't run, you're the one. Bring all your dreams to the glorious kingdom. Are you hearing the voice of Seth call your name? Lost in the storm, hold your face and sword. Go fight a secret, I win this war. We rise up higher, reach for the sky. Hold on to your weapons with pride. We rise up higher, conquer the ark. Get ready to fight for your life. We rise up, climb on, choose the highest ground. Off the pyramid of life, let the spirit get you like us. We are the kings, we are the queens, we will rise up to the top. Even when you fall, sticks and stones may break your bones, but you are stronger than the heaviest waves. The earthquake won't shake you, 'cause you are the king, you are the queen, you are the truth of the land. You rise up higher, reach for the sky. Hold on to your weapons with pride. You rise up higher, conquer the ark. Get ready to fight for your life. You rise up, climb to the highest ground. Off the pyramid of life, let the spirit get you like us. You are the king, you are the queen, you will rise up to the top. Dying night, the shadow of the bleeding night. The sword is losing its light, there's nowhere to hide. It's time to face the dark and fight them back. The moon is turning into evil red, burns the desert into ash, ruin the ark with chaos fire, yeah. Survivors won't pray for luck, belief could be hard as rocks, go against the deepest dark. The saga's calling you above the sky. This war will end with the bravest man. Stand on the regroup for the fight. Now we've come back. I'm wondering who I am. Move through the fire, chasing for the meaning of the end is fighting. Who I am, the hands of flame. Would I be a hero? Would I see my never land? I'll fight for the dreams that you had. Believe in your friends, you're ready for the fight. You know who I am. Let's fight on time. Illuminate and lead the sky till the dawn. Back to life. Dying night, the shadow of the lonely night. The sword is losing its light, there's nowhere to hide. It's time to face the dark and fight them back. The sand is turning into evil black, burns the desert into ash, ruin the ark with chaos fire, yeah. Survivors won't pray for luck, belief could be hard as rocks, go against the deepest dark. The saga's calling you above the sky. This war will end with the bravest man. Stand on the regroup for the fight. Now we've come back. I'm wondering who I am. Right through the fire, chasing for the meaning of the end is fighting. Who I am, the hands of flame. Would I be a hero? Would I see rest in peace. I learned about the recipe when I was younger, recklessly. Now I'm chasing the glory, gonna be fine. Working so hard, matter of time. Never give up, I will define. Taking my chances, breaking a climb. I'ma show them how it's done. On the top level we run. For Osiris, for my son. We show up and pack a punch. This is war. We step up, we gon' never fold. This is legacy. They gon' know me when I go. So rain down all you want, but up
All right, we're here for the second and possibly final match in this Osiris Grand Prix. Plato, welcome back. We've had a few minutes to reflect on what just happened. And I'll say that my world is still rocked. How are you feeling over there?
Yeah, man, it's what's an interesting way for that first match to go. Plays that we've not seen before, plays that we still need to uncover in our minds, that master strategies to the bottom side desert altar, or better, bottom side sky altar rather, was, you know, pretty perplexing. But it is a new game, it is a new day, and this is time for 732A to show that they can, you know, compete with GY16 at an even playing field. This is going to be game number 4 against these two teams. Game number 2 of this best of 3. GY16 winning the 3 games thus far this Grand Prix. 732A, what can they bring out to kind of change what's been happening?
Yeah, you know, there's a couple things that they could do. I mean, and there's a couple explanations for perhaps what happened in the prior match. Maybe they used the master strategist out of the middle because they thought, you know what, we can't win this match. We're not going to show you what our real plans would be. Right? It's possible. But if I'm in their shoes, I would try to just win the first arc and use a different combination of skills. Get that first arc, control the tempo, and see what you can do from there. Now, to spectators joining us from the prior match here, they have switched sides. So this time in blue, up at the top of the map, we've got 732A, and GY16 pushing up from the bottom. GY16, arguably, in this situation, sort of defending their title as the team that goes and wins these sorts of events. In case you missed it earlier, they are from Kingdom 16 in the Chinese server, the Season 2, Season 3, and Season 5 Horus champions, the Season 2, Season 3, and Season 5 Grand Final champions, and they're the 2022 Chinese Grand Prix champion against the underdog upstart, 732A, and the match begins. I don't know what they can do differently, Plato, but certainly they've got to try something.
Yeah, I mean, they got to play some not capture the arc on purpose to get rid of your tempo type of strat. They have to. I mean, we've seen what they like doing against 60 GT, against what they've been very, very standard, and we're gonna try to out provision you. We're gonna try to get that first arc, try to deny that first arc, try to get a lead, and then from there out provision whatever you do. GY16 though, with those 20 provisioners that they had out, kind of calling their bluff and calling their game here, and we'll have to see what happens, because I feel like that first arc being super contested by both teams, it's kind of like a winner go home, like home run play, because by not getting any structures, by losing that middle fight, you're left with nothing, and from there it kind of went downhill. GY16 not capturing that arc so that you know, they could even continue on their pressure, led to that game snowballing to what it did.
You know, at this tier of a tournament, I often say that the level of gameplay from both these teams is really incredible, and that is true. Like, the level of gameplay all the way down to the marches they're choosing and the quality of movement with the marches they've got is really, really next level. And your average ARC team in these same conditions up against either of these teams would get absolutely dominated. So these players are incredibly impressive. And now we're looking at what are the sort of edges they can use to sort of differentiate themselves from their opponent. And there's not that many levers that we can think of. I'm chuckling because, and then every now and then you just get surprised. Like what happened in the last match? Like teardown being used. Surprise, surprise.
Chisco, this is
the play.
This is going to be.
They're going for the ob.
They're going for the ob.
They're
T1
doing
marches,
it.
Trying to swarm this down. T1 not known for their strength though, so getting sad faced a little bit here.
Are they going to be able to pull this off? I mean, they already used the skill. The cat's like out of the bag. The trick is revealed, but there's nothing here to pull this off.
Yeah, I mean, doing that with full T1 marches is quite ballsy, not waiting for a rally.
It does last a long time, though, doesn't it?
It's not the biggest commit. It does last. There's 2 minutes left on that teardown skill. It's not the biggest commitment. The biggest commitment would be having that skill on the bar in the first place.
Right. I mean,
1 point, 5 marches. But that is it's pretty interesting because the rally was canceled on that obelisk. So
okay.
Perhaps pulling the plug on the play, saying, hey, you know what, this play's not gonna work, so we're just gonna go ahead and cut our losses. But I will say this bottom side, I feel like there's like a B seed kingdom's worth of troops down here compared to the top side where it looks like it looks like there's like 3 people here in the top side desert altar compared to the bottom side desert altar. So I feel like GY16 with their initial sentries probably saw exactly what 732 were planning and kind of responded with the right amount of troops here, because 732A definitely tried a home run play in this bottom side of the map.
Yeah, home run, Hail Mary. I don't know what we call that one, but it obviously didn't work, and they're left with a strategic disadvantage for mid fights for the rest of the match. Because not only have they used an ability point, but they have less strategic options for taking this mid fight now, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of forced to go building game. Whether you have a skill that gives you extra attack while attacking and building for 3 minutes here. So you kind of have to use that skill and play around that skill. But as we were talking about, I feel like they were decent in the building game as is. It's not like they need to improve their building game by putting another skill. That was definitely an all-in play that didn't work out, and now they're going to be behind in tempo and behind in just the amount of skills on the bar. Similar to how they were behind on the amount of skills on the bar last match with that hard push on that bar. But it's going to be really, really interesting to see how they come back into this, because they are definitely in a pressure disadvantage. The top side of the map, they lost the Shrine of Life. They got back to Desert Altar, trying to stabilize the game a bit. I'm going to be really interested to see if they even go for this first arc.
Well, I will say this. Chat is pointing out maybe it was a pump fake, a feint, to try to get GY16 to overcommit to defending the obelisk. But obviously that is not the way that it worked out, if that was the plan.
Yeah, the pump fake, you have to take the shot after. And they did not get anything from that, realistically. It's an even map state. You could even say that they're behind because the Shrine of Life has been taken, so they're going to be behind in terms of capturing that. But I mean, it's going to be an even map state. They're going to be behind 1 point, which is not the end of the world, but it's just you have a limited amount of skills that you could bring into this game, and the skills that you choose is so important. You don't see teardown used normally in Ark of Osiris because teardown, from what I've seen, is only used for that obelisk cheese strat, the obelisk home run play. Outside of that, I haven't seen any use of it. When 466W were able to take 93T's obelisk, they actually committed full send pretty much every march in the game towards that obelisk. They use they use sneaky tactics and tear down on top of it, which is how they were able to gain that advantage. But GY16 sniffed out the play. They knew what was going on because of their opening sentry. And from there, GY16 has yet again had control of this match thus far.
Dust Up activated too. This is unusual to say the least. Is it fair to say that 732A is going buildings here, and they're really projecting the fact that they're going buildings?
I mean, that's going to be the play, right? That has to be what their plan is, because with the tools that they have, they're just going to be trying to do what they can. I wouldn't be surprised if they even use a teardown on an altar that they feel like is pretty stubborn to crack here, or it'll be really interesting to see how they utilize this teardown skill, because we haven't seen it in the Grand Prix outside of just capturing obelisks early.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they would put it on the bar just for that one play at the start. So I imagine that's the sort of skill they're trying to use on cooldown. Just get as much out of that as they can.
Yeah, I mean, they were able to flip some structures here. Flip the Desert Altar. Unfortunately, the Desert Altar already has first occupation points for GY16. There was a match in this Grand Prix where the Desert Altar didn't actually start generating points until halfway through the match, because it kept flipping back and forth. But that will not be the case here.
Yeah, score looks relatively even, although the board is, the map is looking pretty good here for 732A. They're really on the offensive on the southern part of the map here.
Yeah. Now, what does GY16 get out of that? They get full mid control. So they should have, if everything goes according to plan, you know, a complete control of this first arc. But we've seen 732A work some magic. We've seen situations where 732A look down and out, and then all of a sudden they steal an arc with master strategies. They steal an arc with sneaky tactics. Perhaps they're just going to go buildings and try to rely on their previous success on being able to steal arcs that should have been their opponents.
Desert Altar holding strong here for 732A. Reinforcements perhaps arriving. It does look like both sides have a lot of marches here. This is where the action is for now, although other buildings are under contention. I see them sort of blinking on the map, so I'm eager to sort of cruise around here and see what's going on. But especially, I am going to look to the arc. This is free for GY16.
Yep.
Fully free. So
Complete
we did
dominance, complete control.
Yeah, we read the tea leaves correctly there. That combination of teardown plus dust up was a sort of signaling that maybe they're not going to the arc. I mean, I don't know. Plotto, what are the chances they don't just master strategist to the arc when it's spawning in?
There is that play. That is a possibility.
It is, isn't it?
We've seen that happen actually in this Grand Prix, where 93T were able to steal the arc from 466S after they went buildings. After getting buildings, they brought those building marches middle with master strategies. Middle was completely empty, and they were able to steal the arc there. So that is the interesting part about the dilemma, rather, with having complete middle control is how many marches do you dedicate here? Because if you have less than 30, then a master strategies will outnumber you.
Well, they did go sneaky tactics here. So it looks like they're on their way to the middle now to delay the arc.
Oh, just go. I'm getting flashbacks. I'm just letting you know. I'm getting some flashbacks.
What flashbacks are you getting here? What?
I'm looking at... I mean, I don't know if they have enough points for it, though. They did use Dust Up with Teardown. But if they have enough points, this could be a sneaky tactics into Master Strategies. But that's
no way.
9 points.
They couldn't have enough points for that.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
They've already used 6. No way.
This is going to be delay. This is going to be delay. Yeah, they're not even trying to capture the arc. So it's going to be a delay for sure.
Yeah. Delay. Can you imagine the Master Strategist out of here with the first arc? They just used too many points, I think, for that to be an option, though.
Yeah. Also, doing it the first arc is not the best, because then you don't have a Master Strategies just in case we're in the back of your pocket. Like, when you use a Master Strategist, that's -1 skill slot that you have. That's your opponent not having to second guess themselves that, hey, next time when they have full mid control, they don't even need to bring the 30 marches. They could just bring 1 T1 if they really wanted to, because there's no Master Strategist that could steal from them, although I guess there is a sneaky tactics. But the point stands is that the threat of Master Strategist also comes from the idea that it's still available. So just trying to delay and deny this arc, trying to get their structures back. I mean, they gave up mid control, but they're also down by 3 altars, which is not usually the combination that you wanna have.
No.
But they are flipping these altars, so that is going to be the prize. But the real question is, if you give up this middle area, you kind of want to trade that off with maybe 5-6 minutes of uncontested altars to try to make up for giving up that mid control. But it hasn't been a dominant building game on the sides here, meaning that I feel like thus far GY16 is in the lead.
Technically, 732A is in the lead on the scoreboard, but they have an arc in hand, in fairness. So I agree with a lot of what you're saying, which, you know, to your point earlier, the threat of Master Strategist is almost worth more, especially when you consider the success rate of Master Strategist plays. The threat of it is almost worth more than the activation. And you don't even have to have it on the bar to threaten potentially having it on the bar. So that threat still exists. It still looms over both teams, that at any moment in time, if the bar is full enough, a whole bunch of people could be somewhere and surprise attack. I like for 732A that they are contesting 3 of the altars now. And that's, I mean, I don't know if they could do that all game. That's where they need to be. Wait, where'd the arc go? Carrier popped? I was like, it's too early for it to reset to the middle. It's too early.
I mean, I feel like I need to be an arc watch with what happened last game. Like, I'm just gonna stare at this guy
for
12 minutes straight.
Yeah, I know.
But I mean, if we look at the point lead, right? They are up by approximately like 1.6k. The arc is worth 3k, so GY16 should be, you know, firmly in the lead by about 1.4, 1.2, because the Desert Altar of theirs is still not generating points for them, although it did just flip. Overall, it's a pretty comfortable position for GY16, but it's not the end of the world for 732A. What is going to be really tough for them, though, is that they already showed 3 of the 5 skills on their bar. They showed that they have Dust Up, Teardown, and Sneaky Tactics. And what that indicates to me is that if you're GY16, why not just keep running up the arc score? Why not just capture these arcs over and over and over again? Because you know 732A with the history of GY16, they have these mid skills probably on their bar, better mid skills at least than tear down. So if I'm GY16, why not just capture these arcs when you're ready and try to force a 2-3 arc game to kind of nullify this building approach that 7328 is trying to impose, especially with teardown being used on the Sky Altar.
Yep, there it is again. You did something just a moment ago that I thought was very telling. You said that they revealed, I think, 3 out of 5 of their skills. But there are 6 skill slots on the bar. It's just that energetic is so standard.
Energetic, yeah.
Yeah, but like, I don't know if you realize what you just did, but yeah, I think it is very telling that energetic is so common that you just assume every team has it. And that realistically, that leaves only 5 strategic choices. I think to me, that signals that with the next season of Arc of Osiris League and the next Grand Prix season, that we'll probably see some changes to the value or the function of some of these energy generation skills. Because they are really cool, but they are also really powerful. So powerful that it's like, you might just kind of need to have them.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of similar to last Grand Prix and when this the Storming Sands fog KVK happened or fog Arc of Osiris rather happened the sentries were just so important that essentially you only had 5 skills. So energetic is just a new sentry where you need to have that on your bar. But yeah, there are 6 skills. One of them always put for energetic. So 5 combat related skills, unless you want to use stocking up, which we have seen in the Grand Prix. But the point still stands is you used 4 of your 6 skills. GY16 only used 2 of 6. So that is why GY16 decided to just capture the arc. I'm their coach right now. They knew that this teardown.
Coach Blotto.
Like, all right, well, what else are they gonna do? You could go building, sure, but we're just gonna win via arcs, and they're just gonna continue going middle, and they should have the advantage there.
I feel like that is almost the flaw of a skill like teardown, is that it just reveals too much about what your plan is, right? Like, it gave so much information the moment that teardown became visible about what the entire nature of the strategy for 732 was going to be. I almost feel like those sorts of skills are still kind of underpowered from where they need to be.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a pretty good skill for 1 skill point.
Yeah, no, it's good for 1 point.
As you said, it's not flexible. There's no flex when you use teardown.
Right.
I would say that it probably replaces hard push. They haven't used hard push yet, so I would assume that they didn't put double building skill, hard push, teardown, or else they probably would have used it already.
100%.
But in my opinion, that teardown skill was used for a desert or an obelisk play, a home run play that did not work out, did not pan out, and now they are just trying to do their best to recover from that. Because when you go all in for that obelisk and you show your hand early here, GY16 kind of has control as to what is going to happen for the rest of the map, because they were able to thwart that early pressure and that use of teardown. So 7328, it wasn't the end of the world because they didn't all in for it. They didn't bring their whole murder ball there. They kind of, brought a couple marches and saw that GY16 knew what was going on, so they canceled it. But all that to be said, GY16 still ended up getting an advantage, even though it wasn't the end of the world.
I'm looking around this map here. Things look pretty good for GY16. And this next arc is 4 minutes away, so they've got to be feeling pretty good here about how this is going. I mean, we see also there was a vote in the chat earlier. 61% thinks that GY16 is going to win again. And 38%, pardon me, think that it's going to be 732A and they're just heating up.
Yeah.
If you had to pick a side to be on right now, Plato, which side would you want to be on?
I think this is the redemption of GY16. GY16 underperforming last Grand Prix, losing to 93T in the quarterfinals. This time around, they're saying this is our championship to win. We have been in the upper bracket this whole time. We have beat 732A 3 times in a row. This is our chance to make it 4 and make it a done deal. And I would be. It's hard for me to think of a way for 732A to come back into this game. The only way that they could come back is if GY16 somehow fumble an arc, which I'm still looking at last game, and I still think that that first arc play was on purpose. I'm with how well GY16 is playing. I do not believe that was by accident. And I was actually messaging people from 93T, and I was asking, is that actually a play? And they said, yeah, because what happens is, shout out to Archie, is you go early, you get that arc to respawn, and it forces your opponents, it kind of makes them go off guard, and it forces them to overcommit for that arc so that you could try to get structures elsewhere. So it's a very ballsy and risky play, but apparently it's in the playbook. So if we'll have to see what happens for this mid fight. This is gonna be the end all be all mid fight, because being up by about 2k points here, or 1.5k points, if you get control of this arc, if you hold this arc for quite some time, you will have control of this game, and you could just provision up, and 732A won't really have much of a response.
Yeah, I mean, you get this arc in GY16 and you are able to bring it back to your cities, you've got to be feeling really good about how things are going. What I'd love to see 732A do is just surprise us with some really, really next level mid gameplay, or however you would accomplish that, whether it's targeting, right? Like, just, if it would be really cool to see them make a comeback and to do that with just a brute force mid win. But I think that is realistically pretty unlikely against just the incredibly experienced GY16 team.
Yeah, I mean, it is going to be really, really tough. The reason being, this is game 4 between the two teams. If 732A could win mid fights, I feel like they would have been doing that game 1, 2, and 3, but that just has not been the case.
Yeah.
But if there's some form of protagonist in this Grand Prix, they turn on the skill switch, they believe in the heart of the cards, they believe in the heart of the mid fight, and starts controlling this temple. They do have positioning, I will say. They have positioning, and with positioning, magic can happen, but magic will have to happen for 732A to win this mid fight, and this mid fight is about to commence as these murder balls are getting super, super close.
30 seconds till the arc spawns. Here we go. This is a big moment. 732A is down 1 match in this 3-game series. They've got to win this to take it to a game 3. To the death for 732A. The answer, Heaven's Grace from GY16. We saw them do this before.
It is a Heaven's Grace to the death dust up versus to the death dust up. They don't have a third skill. They only have 8 points to the 10 of 7. Oh, it's 12. It's 12 points that they used of GY16. GY16 using that dust up early so that they could gain points for that to the death and Heaven's Grace. But man, what's an interesting way for this to go, and I'm so interested. It's an interesting decision, right, to go for this mid fight for 7328, being down in skills, but seeing no way out. They thought they had to contest this mid fight, but it does look like it's going GY16's favor thus far.
It sure does. I mean, sometimes you just got to go for the 1% or 5% play, you know? The chances are against you, but if you win, it is worth it. And in this case, it looks like GY16 has taken that arc, and they've got to feel really good about this position now.
Yeah, they are cruising with that arc. It is a very, very low health Joan of Arc, but that Joan of Arc is carrying this arc back home. Oh, they are going to be replacing the arc carrier here, which is going to be very, very smart for them eventually. They're going to eventually replace it.
You think so?
But
that double C?
I think they're going to replace it with that double C. It's walking too close, but I don't know. It's still a contested arc. It's going to be pretty dangerous to do this in the middle of 732A. If
I
they
feel
can
like
extend this arc fight by a little bit, perhaps it could be a steal. I mean, what's the play for them?
Wait, here comes someone to hit the arc carrier. Oh boy. I have to say, I've never seen a team be as brazen as GY16 with regard to unguarded arc carriers, and they just never get punished for it. They are just chilling. And here are 3 marches to try to contest this thing, and they're like, yeah, we'll send a couple, go deal with that situation.
Yeah,
okay.
I see that as like min-maxing your marches. They know or how many marches exactly that they need, and you know the rest of the marches that would have been escorting that arc are now defending their desert altar, are now attacking 732A's desert altar, trying to get advantages in occupation there. So I mean, all things worked out for GY16, and this is gonna be a very, very, very strong hold for them. I'm curious though why 732A went for that mid fight, because they perhaps could have tried to pivot towards buildings. They had the teardown skill, but as you said, just saying we have to commit for a mid fight. But I feel like they committed for the wrong mid fight. If they were to commit for a mid fight, it should have been that second arc in that first game. But all things considered, GY16 in the lead right now, but there is another march around, a shark.
Look at the carrier
around this arc carrier. And I think enough time has gone by that perhaps there could be a master strategies play. I mean, it's not out of the cards yet. They only used 8 points middle, right, Chiskel? So
Plato, carrier's getting ambushed. Oh my gosh.
This is like a mini game right now.
I've just never seen a team be so brazen in unguarding the carrier. But they always seem to have somebody close enough. That's wild. That is wild.
Chiskel, check GY16's desert altar.
GY16's desert altar. Okay.
The bottom side desert altar.
Oh, GY16. Sorry, I went the wrong way. There's sky. Yeah. Go back to the desert. All right. Oh. Yeah, let me just go everywhere except where I needed to go. Dude.
This is spicy.
Wait a minute. That's a situation. That's a situation. That might actually be a crisis.
I don't know how 732A, against all odds, always find themselves with the arc. They have no business contesting this arc, and they have some semblance of control now. What is going on, Chiskel? This is gonna be arc fight number 2, part 2.
I can say the thing I keep saying, which is I can't believe the arc ends up so unguarded. It's like the caster's paradox, right? Like, talk about how they always get away with it, and then they don't get away with it immediately. Immediately punished. What? Or are they punished? I don't know. I mean, they're converging on this area now. Guess we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, this is... I mean, if 7328 get this arc, even if they delay, in all honesty, the status quo, in my opinion, would go more towards 7328 having the 3 altars.
Yeah, if they can get this arc, they might win the match, actually. This is a huge moment.
Win. Yeah.
This is on the route to a W for 732A. This is how they would have to do it from here.
Now, this is not exactly the same thing with what happened with 466W. This was an unforced error, an arc carrier on its lonesome, while going to the bottom side of the map while you didn't have Desert Altar control. This is unheard of right now. And we were talking about how arcs in this Grand Prix have been safe for the most part. They have, like, usually there'd be more steals.
I asked you point blank about this, right? I was like, oh, is arc stealing a thing? You're like, nah, it's not really a thing.
No.
Here we are.
Chisco read the script because we are in the grand finals of the Grand Prix, and the arc is firmly in 732A's control when they had no right, no possible way there's no right that they should have control of this arc. But it does look like GY16 will probably try to loop around from the top side Desert Altar on the right side of the top side of the map here, and that's going to be their counterplay. But 732A have full control of the arc here.
Yeah, I mean, when we saw that GY16 carry of this arc moments ago and they were running home with it, I think a lot of people in the audience concluded not only is this game over, but the series is over and the Grand Prix is decided. Meanwhile, 732A, head in the game. They've got this arc now, and the script has quite literally been flipped.
It's just the fact that it's an unforced error. This is an arc that they had full control of. They could have brought, we were talking about, I was saying they perfectly send the right amount of marches, but obviously there's no right amount of marches you could bring to this arc. It's something that you have to control, and this is going to be a pain point for GY16. Now that it's in 732A's side of the map, I'm going to be really, really curious to see what 732A can do having the marches run into them. This is going to be the first time that they were the ones in the driver's seat with the arc. They were the ones that has to defend and escort this arc. And in all honesty, the marches from GY16, they have to run one by one into the shredder, which is a 732A murder ball around this Arc of Osiris.
Let me tell ya, this is unexpected, but it both is and it isn't. Like, I feel like leaving your carrier unguarded time and time again, like, play silly games, win silly prizes, right? Like, you have to guard your carrier. At some point, you get punished. And here it is. Here's the punish. This is how that goes.
Yeah, and the thing is, because it switched hands, it could be a guaranteed last arc.
It sure could.
Well, it could. Well, there's going to be 2 minutes on. No, it will be a guaranteed last arc, right? No, there's going to be 2 minutes until the last arc spawns. There's 21 minutes left in the game. There's 12 minutes until the arc has to be captured. There's leaving a total of 9 minutes. It's going to be such a close last arc. But in my opinion, that could probably go to 732's favor, because if they have master strategy in the bar, which we've seen them have, then they could still capture.
This is really happening. This is really happening.
Yeah, this is the comeback that 732A. This is so reminiscent, by the way, of the swing of the flow of what happened in that 466W match in that best of 3. Game 1 looking very dominant for 466W. Game number 2 looking to be in 466W's hands, taken away by an arc steal. It is a repeat of that series, GY16 this time being the people against 732A, being the people that gave up the arc. But instead of stealing the arc, 732A, I felt like they were just able to pluck it away.
732A has the underdog plot armor that every team wishes they had. They are just able to pull these wins out of nowhere and then get momentum. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's just, I cannot fathom how in back-to-back series, backs against the wall, their only way back, in my opinion, was stealing that arc, by the way. Like, how else would they come back in? Would it perhaps a third arc into trying to steal that with Master Strategist, perhaps? But this arc being in their control makes this game under their control. And now the series is looking to be quite an interesting one when it was GY16 in the driver's seat just earlier ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible, right? It is so incredible that they basically were almost pinned to the mat. It was over, right? And they pull this reversal that just is incredible. Wow. 732A, right? And I'm looking at their list of accomplishments as a team. And that list says they're from the Chinese servers. They were in Kingdom 732. And they were top 4 in the Sobek Realm qualifiers. That's it. It's not like they have a history of winning tournaments together. It came out of nowhere.
Imagine as a kingdom, as a team, your first tournament you win isn't an Osiris League tournament, isn't a Grand Finals tournament. It is a Grand Prix international server versus Chinese server, where GY16 and the Chinese server have been the dominant figure in Osiris League for quite some time, as you were listing out their achievements. Beating out GY16 and being able to become the Grand Prix champions as your first accolade would be quite the way to start off your Osiris League career. We are still far away from that, though. This arc is in hand. This game should be in hand. But there will still be a third arc. There are provisioners out for both teams, and it'll be really interesting to see if GY16 can somehow make a play and come back from this, because they currently have 3 altars, so they're generating points per minute right now. They are ahead of points per minute, so they're doing the right things after fumbling that arc.
Yeah, they sure are, because there just aren't that many options for them at this point. Like this position they're in is really, really dangerous now, and there's nothing really they can do about it except give themselves more scoreboard buffer, which they're doing, but they need a lot of it. And given that we know the provisioning situation, even if GY16 provisions 1,000 more and they get 1,000 points of structure advantage, it's not enough to offset this arc. So they've got a real problem at this point.
Yeah.
And all that 732A has to do is stall the next arc. And it's almost a foregone conclusion that they'll be able to do that. So this is a really, really bad situation for GY16, which is, I suppose, the moment where we need to talk about, okay, so what would it take for 732A to do the thing they've been doing all tournament long and flip this in their favor? They would need to win this game. They would need to win the next game, but because that would represent the very first loss for GY16 in the tournament, and it's a double elimination tournament, that next weekend they would rematch again for a best 2 out of 3. So 732A still has a very, very long and treacherous road to be in that position of winning this Grand Prix. But I'm saying there's a chance.
There's a chance in Chisco. This is pretty much the furthest away. When GY16 got that arc, that was the furthest away. You could probably say there was a 95% chance, 99% chance that GY16 would win and become the Grand Prix champions. They have everything going for them, being the upper bracket representative, as you said, not losing a single game. They have 2 games that they could lose a series and still have another fresh best of 3. So the fact that from the brink, from the ledge, from being knocked out, yet again, back-to-back weeks, 732A were able to find the magic. I mean, this is going to be really interesting. But yet again, Chisco, this game's not over. It is going to be that last arc. And I wouldn't be surprised if both skills have master strategists. And I wouldn't be surprised if it comes down to who clicks the arc first.
I mean, the thing that's so crazy is if you were to ask me what is the most likely way to lose from a winning position, it would be to leave your carrier unguarded. And yet, season after season, Grand Prix after Grand Prix, that is exactly what we spectate every time.
Yeah, I mean, it's... I don't know, man. It's so funny because when we used to cast together, we used to call that 93T'ing the arc.
Yep.
Where you the arc, you get it back. And we just haven't been seeing that. That hasn't been successful except for the one time. And the problem is, Chisco, if you're not guarding your arc, you have to guard the outer lanes here, the lane that you're coming through. They brought the arc carrier to a desert altar that 732A had controlled.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, they should have known that, hey, the arc's here. We're just going to go get it. And that's exactly what happened. And that was the downfall of not protecting your arc. You're still protecting your arc, but similar to the murder ball around that pyramid that we were talking about, attacking before they get to the desert altar, it's a similar situation when you bring your marches out to these lanes and attack the marches before they get to your arc carrier, but they just didn't have the defense in the lane that they brought the arc to.
Mm-hmm. Well, lucky 13 minutes left in the match. Suppose it's relevant that it's 13 minutes and 30 seconds. There's a lot of time left. There's also 3 minutes and 30 seconds left on this arc. Pretty sure these guys are going to remember to capture it. So barring those shenanigans, I mean, yeah. You capture this arc, right? Like, you don't try to... Whoopsie daisies, timer expired here.
I mean, that would be...
No.
If they do that and they don't get the arc back, that would be the throw of the century. That would be...
You sure would.
That would be the biggest oopsie, I feel like, in Osiris League history. But I mean, I'm really... I don't know if I'm impressed with the 732A, or because, you know, after not getting that obelisk play, which we were talking about earlier, their tempo was down because they didn't get that initial obelisk play, that home run that they're going for. But a home run was essentially given to them by stealing that arc. So it's going to be really, really interesting as they will capture the arc shortly here. I believe they just captured the arc. So there will be a mid-fight. There will be time for a third arc to be captured. And I think this game will come down to whether or not GY16 can make up for their past transgressions and secure that last arc, or if 732A will be able to steal yet another arc from under them. Because we have to keep in mind, GY16 should still have the mid-skill advantage.
Yeah, they captured that arc early, right? Like minutes early.
Hey, they heard us. They're like, oh shoot, we have to capture it or else we're throwing.
But like,
Just insta capture it, I guess.
Plata,
But yeah,
what are they up
bit
to?
early.
Plata, they're doing something. I just don't know what it is. They are definitely 100% scheming. Okay, let's run through this real quick. All right, let's just talk about this for a second. You yoink the arc in the most spectacular fashion. You are now positioned to win. You've got the skills on your bar for running the building game. You're doing fine at the building game. Why would you capture before you need to? Why? What are they up to?
I don't know. Perhaps.
I don't know what it is, but they're up to no good for sure. Like, that is intentional.
The only thing I could think of is they captured it early so that GY16 kind of have to sweat about whether they give up their buildings or not. Because if you held it the whole time, that's an extra 2 minutes that's an extra 2 minutes of GY16 not like once the arc spawns, right? And the arc's about to happen, GY16 could pretty much give up all their structures and not matter too much because there's only going to be like 4-5 minutes left in the match before they have to rotate middle. But now it's going to be like 6 or 7 minutes before they have to start rotating, giving them that extra time and the extra pressure to where now they have to decide, okay, is it worth rotating now? Do we rotate later? Instead of giving GY16 kind of like that way out of like, okay, the arc's going to be spawning later, so it doesn't matter too much if we give up our buildings. But to your point, there is some shenanigans happening because 7328 are in middle 5 minutes before the arc spawns. This is a very, very early rotation when we're talking about, you know, they want to go building game because they don't have the skills to really contest a big arc fight.
I don't know what to say, brother. There's a reason these folks have made it to the finals, and it's because they live their lives to the beat of a different drum. I don't know what to say. Why capture so early is a mystery to me. Why get to the middle so early is a mystery to me. I mean, do they get there early and then go invisible with sneaky tactics? Is that what they're up to?
I mean, they wouldn't even need to go there early then. They could just sneaky tactics whenever they wanted to. So I don't know what their plan is, but I think that's the exciting part about these matches and these finals is, I mean, chat's saying, meanwhile on Discord,
Yeah.
sorry guys, I captured it early. I mean, that could be the case. But as casters, we're kind of like the English teacher that has to look into the similes and metaphors into little things that artists do. And right now, this Grand Prix is 7328 and GY16's canvas, and we have to try to interpret what's going on. But it can just be a fumble. But man, this would be a very, very interesting fumble. And I will say, 7328 are super ahead right now, Jisco. They're up by about 2.7k, which is really in their favor. GY16, in my opinion, they're going to be the ones that have to take this arc to get back in, but it does look like they're going for this extended building game.
Yeah, this is a lot of pressure on buildings from GY16, given that they need this arc too, right? Like, how are they supposed to be here and then get to middle? I look over to the middle. They are not there. Like, such a role reversal. What's happening here? Why are they not in the middle?
Game. We're asking why 7328 were not in the middle in that last arc, in that second arc of last game. Now GY16 are down, and they're like, all right, we're not gonna go middle then. We're just gonna do the exact same thing you guys did last match. And I mean, they did flip all the structures. They have 4 altars, but with 6 minutes to go, will that be enough to come back from this 2.5k point deficit that you're down? I don't know what the answer is, but if I had to guess, Chisco, I think GY16 are going to go for a 732A meaning they're probably going to go for a Master Strategist steal play. But I think 732A have vision of the marches in GY16 that are going to be they're probably going to be sneaky tacticked, but we'll have to see what happens. Yeah, sneaky tactics by GY16. This is going to be an attempted steal of the arc from them.
So they've got all 4 altars right now in GY16. That is a really powerful position. I just don't know if it is enough of a powerful position to offset the arc. But what I think they're maybe doing, which is insane by the way, is they go for all the altars. They lost one. I was going to say they go for all the altars, and they're the ones that delay the final arc capture.
This is not a delay because they have T1 marches in here. This is going to be a attempted... I think it's going to be an attempted Master Strategist out. It's going to be sneaky tactics into Master Strategist out. So, as predicted, this game will come down to who clicks first. Who clicks the Arc of Osiris first and brings that arc home. Will it be GY16 taking back that arc that was stolen from them, the arc that they fumbled away, or will it be 732A taking the arc and taking the victory, taking that first step into trying to become that Grand Prix champion in these finals?
I am baffled. We've got on my clock 5 minutes and 10 seconds left in the match.
Oh no.
GY6.
This is gonna be this is gonna be a close one, man.
It's a nail biter for sure, which is exactly what you want. Like, it's way more interesting when these games are close. Somebody got popped out of stealth. Whoops. Somebody else got popped out of stealth. A little early for that. There's still 30 seconds before this arc spawns in. Someone clicked where they did not mean to click. And, unfortunately for their team, reveal that there may be people lurking here. I mean, you have to assume it.
This is 100%. This is 100% going to be an arc steal. This is going to be 100% them trying to tap it first, the Master Strategist out. This is what 732A did against 466W. I expect to see a Master Strategist here shortly.
Here
Master
it is.
Strategist in the middle.
Here it is.
This is to crown the Grand Prix champions or extend the series, Chiskel.
Hold your breath. Who's got it?
GY16! GY16!
No
GY16
way.
has the arc!
Oh
the
my
arc.
goodness.
In the same way 732A has stolen the arc from 466W, has stolen the game the same way 732A has stolen the game from 466W, and this is the inverse of what we saw last week. GY16 able to steal the arc, able to take the lead, and perhaps able to take the trophy of Grand Prix champions. We have 2 minutes 30 seconds left to see what 732A can do to come back from this point deficit.
There is not a lot you can do to come back from this. That arc immediately captured. What a move. Wow. I mean, what do you do about that? Actually,
There's not
a lot. You could have that skill that would reveal everybody. You could have revealed them, right? There is a way to prevent what just happened.
Yeah, Desert Storm. Desert
Desert Storm.
A skill.
Yeah.
But with Teardown being on your bar, you don't have the flexibility. We're already talking about how 732A skills are not the best for mid fights.
Yep. And I think
With
it's
Desert
generally
Storm,
better to ask questions than to have answers. Desert Storm is an answer that you might not even need. Do you see what I mean?
yeah, exactly. So, oh man, what's a way for this game to come down to a close here? A 6K point differential. The provision is coming in from GY16 at a 4.5K provisioning score. it is a 7K lead, and I do believe in 72A's provisions, but a 7K differential.
That's a big differential, man. You're not making that up.
That would be a huge differential.
Wow. I mean, it is okay. So if one team provisioned and the other didn't, like, it is conceivable, but I think GY16 is looking real solid at this point.
GY16 did exactly what they needed to do. They provisioned enough to where there couldn't be a provisioning win condition. They provisioned those points to kind of counteract the provisions from 732A. And now 732A are bringing back some of these provisions, and I do not think it'll be enough. It'll make it a lot more of a closer game. But this back and forth, this roller coaster of a game, it came down to GY16. It came down to the hero double C that was able, or the hero arc carrier that was able to tap that arc first, and that tap won them the Grand Prix.
I mean, it is iconic that double C is on the app icon and is the guy that scored the arc here to win the game. Am I right? Like, that is just full circle. Unreal.
Yeah, an absolutely pleasure of a series to watch, because it was, you were on the edge of your seats, maybe for the wrong reasons sometimes, but you were on the edge regardless. But either way, both teams are bringing out their best. It will be a close game, Chiskel. It's the gap is
Wait a minute.
a little bit with these provisioners coming in.
This leaderboard's getting really close. Hold up.
Before crowding GY16, it's getting pretty close here.
10 seconds. Are they gonna win?
I think they
got it. I'm hesitant to say for sure, but I think they got it. There it is. GY16 GG's 33,953 to 35,495. 732A pulling in a solid extra 1,000 points of provisioning at the very end. Not enough to close the gap of that additional arc so masterfully returned home. Wow. What a game.
What a series, Chiskel. And this is GY16, your Grand Prix champions, making their way back. The redemption arc, being knocked out by 93T last Grand Prix in the quarterfinals, now making it all the way up from the upper bracket, not dropping a game in the Grand Prix, able to close it out against 732A and become the 2024 Grand Prix champions.
And credit where credit is due. Both of these teams are truly insane and impressive. The best in the world. Wow. GG's, well played. Congratulations again are due to both teams for how impressive they are. But GY16 getting the win. Wow. Plato, do you have any thoughts before we wrap up this season of the Grand Prix?
This Grand Prix has been a pleasure to cast, a pleasure to watch. I feel like the level of play this Grand Prix has been out of this world. So many practices, so many times, so much time spent from all of these teams. So shout out to all of the teams, all of the players, and all of the viewers for making this Grand Prix possible. Of course, Rise of Kingdoms for organizing it. But this has been probably one of the best Grand Prix we've had. There have been so many iconic matches, and it comes down to an arc steal, a sneaky tactics into master strategist, and I don't think there's any other way that this Grand Prix should have went down.
Yeah, I'll echo those sentiments that this was exciting all the way down to the very last, literally the very last moments. And I think the format of the Grand Prix this time around really elevated the hype all the way throughout. So I think this was an amazing season. So big thank you again to the makers of the game for inviting us to cast and giving us this opportunity. Thanks everybody for tuning in to make the streams fun and exciting. Great to have you all in the chat. And I think this wraps up, incredibly, an amazing season of Grand Prix content and gameplay. If you enjoyed it, throw a like on here, subscribe, because it's time to start preparing for the next Ark of Osiris League season. Dust off your armies, get them ready for battle, folks. Until next time, you have fun smashing the kingdom. We'll see you in another Ark of Osiris cast. Take care, everybody.